Collateral consequences. What is a woman? Hello, I'm H.G. Tudor. Collateral consequences are part and parcel of life for lesser and mid-range narcissists. How is this? Narcissism is a self-defense mechanism. Its purpose is to ensure that the narcissist pursues the prime aims. To help you understand this, if you envisage the narcissist as the host and the narcissism as the processing body, its role is to protect that host from threats to control, because threats to control cause that host to feel weak, vulnerable, unimportant. It smashes holes in the construct. It causes the loss of fuel. It results in a diminished function for that narcissist. The narcissism is like the life support system. So in a way that everybody's brain, where functioning properly, ensures that they breathe, that their temperature is regulated, that their heart beats at a particular rate, that they ensure that they expel waste from the body at appropriate times, that they sweat when overheating occurs, and so on and so forth. There's a whole range of things that your brain takes care of for you to enable you to survive and thrive without you having to think about it. Unless you're David Beckham, you don't sit there thinking, breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out. Your brain does it for you. You don't compel your heart to beat. The heart rate is regulated by what the brain does, and the hormones and the chemicals and the electrical pulses all do. Your brain regulates the temperature of your body, and so on and so forth. And thus, with a narcissist, you can bolt onto all of those regulatory functions the necessity of the pursuit of the prime aims: gaining control, nullifying threats to control, seeking out and drinking in the fuel, acquiring character traits and residual benefits. That is what the narcissism is focused upon when it comes to lesser and mid-range narcissists and all of the relevant subschools that those schools cover. It's brilliant at doing it. One way or the other, fuel will be obtained. Sometimes a fuel crisis may occur, but they are unusual. Control will always be obtained in some form through the three assertions of control, be it direct, indirect, or ultimately through withdrawal. However, in achieving those prime aims, inevitably, the narcissism causes collateral consequences. Not that it cares about it, because it's focused on the now, and now, and now, and now. Thus, take for example, a middle lesser who has turned up repeatedly late for work. His boss in the warehouse turns to him and says, "This is the fourth time this week you have turned up late. You're now on a disciplinary." This is challenge fuel and a threat to control. The narcissism causes the narcissist to think, who the fuck is he saying that to me? What an arsehole. And causes, as a means of nullifying that threat to control, the middle lesser to lash out with his fists, putting the manager on his backside. What has it done? Well, it's nullified the threat to control by putting the manager on his bottom. Also, given his cry of anguish as he's struck, it also provided some fuel. Character traits and residual benefits were not relevant, but in that particular moment, the narcissism has done its job. But we're now in the next moment, which the narcissism was not thinking about, because the narcissism was focused on that particular moment. And as we moved into the next moment, the recovering manager turns and says, "You're fired," as a consequence of assaulting him and the gross misconduct contained therein. Thus, there's another threat to control that has arisen. The narcissist responds with, "Fuck you, I never wanted to work here anyway," and storms out. He asserts control by withdrawal. Again, he's got the control. He's received fuel from the response of the manager and perhaps some onlookers. But the collateral consequence is he's lost his job. And you see these collateral consequences repeatedly with narcissists of a lesser and mid-range ilk, not greater or ultra, because the greater and ultra think ahead. But with lesser and mid-range, these are the ones that you see who regularly lose relationships, be it romantic ones, be it with friends, be it falling out with family members. They lose their jobs, they find themselves in difficulties with regard to finances, they commit criminal acts and then end up facing criminal prosecutions, and so on and so forth. Thus, they become far more haphazard, because the narcissism is brilliant at doing what it needs to do in the moment, but it invariably causes a collateral consequence. And you can see this with all of the various narcissists that I've examined who are of the lesser and mid-range ilk. I've also explained that when it comes to certain individuals who make a lot of noise about supposed equality, but then behave in a manner which is directly contradictory of that, we have the instance of the narcissists that can be found on the left. Now, narcissists are found in any political persuasion. However, there are those, typically mid-range, that are found within the left, preaching about equality and being kind and fairness, but they're not engaging in those behaviours. Their narcissism simply hijacking the concepts of equality and fairness and empathy and #BeKind in order to get to the prime aims. But we have another excellent example of how certain narcissists who want to tell everybody else how they should behave, assertion of control, want to stifle free speech, nullification of threat to control, engage in certain behaviours which demonstrate their narcissism, but then has the collateral consequence. And this arises with regard to Matt Walsh's What is a Woman? Last year, the Daily Wire debuted Matt Walsh's What is a Woman? Throughout the movie, Walsh politely asks both conservatives and leftists with medical degrees, what is a woman? The answers from the left are astonishing and revealing. Leftists boycotted the movie, but now, thanks to a really stupid move by leftists formerly employed at Twitter, who tried to block a 24-hour free window for the movie, the Streisand effect, or collateral consequences, has sent the movie's viewership into the stratosphere. An article by Andrea Widberg in American Thinker explains the short version of her review of What is a Woman is that the movie is superb. Today, as the battle over so-called transgenderism heats up in America, the movie's factual and cultural points are arguably more important than ever. Certainly, that's what the Daily Wire thought, because it arranged with Twitter to have the movie screened for free over a 24-hour window at the start of the annual June Slobberfest over aberrant sexual behaviour. After Twitter agreed to let the movie be screened on its site, and right before its launch, Twitter informed the Daily Wire that the movie was hateful conduct, because it included misgendering. Therefore, Twitter announced that it was restricting the movie's visibility. Now, those who made the decision to restrict the visibility may not necessarily be narcissists. They could be empathic individuals that are being swayed by a particular mindset. There could be normals that just believe that they're doing their job, again influenced by a particular mindset. But somewhere within this mindset lurks, of course, a narcissist. As I've explained before, that somewhere there are the true believers that are narcissists that put in place these contradictory and hypocritical approaches to the advancement of ideas and beliefs. And therefore it's likely that within this latest instance, a narcissist, as part of the nullification of the threat to control posed by the screening of the movie Matt Walsh's What is a Woman, has a subconscious sensation that this is a threat to control because it doesn't fit with their ideology. And therefore, rather than recognising this is about free speech, their response is one of hypocrisy, essentially stating, I'm allowed to say what I want, but I state that you're not allowed to state what you want. Accordingly, this resulted in the movie being restricted in terms of its visibility. The kerfuffle ended with two high-level Twitter employees getting the boot. More importantly, having once again affirmed that Twitter is an open platform for legal content, Elon Musk then suggested that every parent should watch the film. And he did so in a tweet which had been liked over 500,000 times and had 28,500 replies. So far, the American Thinker reports, it seems as if everyone is following Musk's advice. Thanks to those leftist Twitter employees and the news cycle they created, the movie has received a much higher profile than it would have experienced if it had remained confined to conservative media, and if Musk hadn't been forced to get involved, which then saw him recommend that parents view it. Thus, the collateral consequence of the assertion of control and the nullification of a threat to control is that the very thing that they sought to restrict has gained greater prominence. The result of all of those factors is that more than 130 million people have viewed at least a portion of the movie. That's more than 1/3 of the total population of the United States. The writer makes reference to the fact that what's being witnessed is the Streisand effect, which flowed from Barbra Streisand's attempt to suppress a California Coastal Records Project photo of her house in Malibu. When the photo first appeared, no one really paid attention. However, once she filed suit, everyone checked it out. The Streisand effect is an example of a psychological reactance, wherein once people are aware that some information is being kept from them, they are significantly more motivated to get and spread it. Barbra Streisand's property was then and is now relevant. What is a woman, however, is not, for it makes an important point about transgender madness at a time when Americans must have that point reinforced. If you couldn't watch the movie in June 2022 when it was first released, the writer recommends that you seize the opportunity to do so. But what it is also an example of, it shows that those with a particular political persuasion, that some who manifest academia, seek to nullify a threat to control because a particular movie does not accord with their political views or their views on life. And in so doing, we see collateral consequences of those particular narcissists looming large, in that the very thing that they've sought to quash has grown even bigger and has been seen by more and more people. And that is repeatedly an issue for lesser and mid-range narcissists. However, what happens is that the original problem that creates a collateral consequence, when the narcissist catches up with that collateral consequence, if you will, they still won't accept responsibility. So, for example, where I talked about the middle lesser who punched his manager, once he loses his job, he doesn't engage in a mea culpa and apologizing. His narcissism compels him to turn around and say, "Fuck you, I didn't like working here anyway." Therefore, he asserts control by being dismissive and then walking away. He's still lost a job, which he then means he has to go and get another job. But he kicks that down the line. He kicks the can down the road. And that is what his narcissism does. And again, that's where it has its effectiveness. It causes these collateral consequences for the narcissist, but the narcissist remains wrapped up in that self-deluded bubble that it wasn't their fault and that the world has it in for them. This is collateral consequences. And the Matt Walsh film, What is a Woman, is an excellent example on a massive scale of how collateral consequences occur. I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for listening.